And that was the Foundations with Build Me Up Buttercup. What a great little song that is. Well, today's guest has requested that song because it makes him feel good. Rob and I spend a lot of time in the studio and, do a little bit of preparation for 2 hours radio a week, and it just about kills us. This bloke, he's behind the scenes producing 15 hours of radio a week at breakfast time at stupid o'clock in the morning. His name is Mark Davidson, better known to some as Scorcher. Good morning to you, Mark.
Good morning, Neil. And yes, that song does put me in a good mood whenever I hear it. So thanks for playing that. And I think Neil, we were introduced to each other by a mutual acquaintance, Artie Fishel. So it's good to chat to you.
Yes, Artie has introduced me to a range of people over the journey, and he keeps us all busy, doesn't he? But never mind, it's all good.
He's a very busy man. He's outdone himself recently. He's pumping out the tunes, so it's always good to hear his latest work.
Well, if you haven't heard it before, folks, you can go to Spotify and you can look up Artie Fishel and the Intelligence. He's got about 30 songs up there, I noticed the other day.
I think we should do like a Christmas album, shouldn't we, I think, later in the year?
I'll mention it to him. In fact, the theme for this song, which you missed because you were preparing for this interview, was also written by Artie Fishel. So he gets around a bit on this radio station as well.
He certainly does. He's Melbourne's busiest musician.
Well, and Geelong, in fact, he's based on the surf coast, you understand. But anyway, be that as it may, we need to tell people about what you do for a job. Why am I talking to you, and what's all this stuff about preparing radio programs? Yeah,
so I've been in radio. Wow. So I first started at 3AW in 2003, so it's a long, long time ago. First job I ever had in radio was selling chocolates for Darren Hinch. I came in to sell slouch hat chocolates for Darren Hinch, and I somehow worked my way into the radio station. I worked with Dr. Feelgood, Sally Coburn, on her show for a little bit, and then got myself onto Afternoons with Ernie Sigley. And I sort of worked as a casual. You start off doing the phones when you first start at 3AW, and worked with Breakfast, worked with Neil Mitchell. But from about the age of about 21, worked with Ernie Sigley and produced him for many, many years, and loved working with him. He was such an interesting character, hilariously funny. He's a bit cheeky, a bit naughty, and he really gave me my start in radio. And I was still young and silly and naive, but I just loved working with him. And when he retired in 2008, the end of 2008, I went overseas to London and moved over there and worked in the press over there for the Telegraph newspaper as a sub-editor. Lived there for 5 years and then came back to Melbourne 2014, just before I was 30, and started working on Breakfast. And I just absolutely love it. It's the best job in radio. So it's the best job in the world, to be honest. So come in here every day, work with Ross and Russ, and we just prepare 3 hours of radio unprepared. We come in with nothing planned and we knock it out every day, and it's so much fun.
Well, I think people who listen to this radio station, 94.7 The Pulse, particularly on a Saturday morning, would be used to listening to radio that's not prepared. That's something we specialise in. And the fact that you and I have actually managed to get to sit down together at the same time, albeit pre-recorded, we better let people know that, is a testament to both our organisational skills. I'm impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And Neil, isn't it the best way to come in with nothing prepared? It's a lot of radio stations, throughout the world, they come in with pre-prepared interviews and they book everything the day before in breakfast radio. But we just like to keep it fresh because you never know what's going to happen. Like, it's just, some little idea, be it from Ross or from me or from a call, will set us off on a path that we never thought we'd go down when we rocked in. Or for me, I rock in at 3:30 in the morning. I'm up at 2:15 every day. So it's sort of grueling hours, but it makes it all worthwhile when you come in and work with a radio genius like Ross Stevenson.
Well, Ross has the ultimate accolade in radio. We have, on the Two Blokes Chatting radio show, the program that precedes this, we have friends of the show, people who've been on twice or more. We have three legendary friends of the blokes, and he is one of those three.
Yeah, no, he's an absolute superstar. And do you know what, Neil? He doesn't get the recognition he deserves. Like, he's not in the Hall of Fame, not in the Radio Hall of Fame, which is absolutely criminal. I don't know how that's happened. And, he's been doing it for, 30 years on 3AW, and he's still as hungry and as creative as he ever was. And it's just to watch him work, to watch his mind work every day is such a joy, it's such a privilege. And, yeah, he's an absolute superstar. And as I said, I just don't think Australia appreciates his talent like they should. Like, we'll look back, in 30 years' time and go, geez, this guy was good on radio, and how he's not in the Hall of Fame, it just absolutely escapes me. So,
being sensitive to the fact that you now have a new owner of your business and he lives in a town a little bit north of where you live, is that to do with the fact that the Hall of Fame is driven out of Sydney and they don't appreciate exactly what's going on in Melbourne?
Yeah, I think that's probably right, to be honest. I think that have to play a part. There are a lot of Sydney people in the Hall of Fame. It's a very Sydney-biased organisation, I think. The ACRAs, so look, I think that's got to play a part. So I don't know why. Like, it's never sort of been explained to me why he's not in there. You don't have to self-nominate or anything like that, as far as I'm aware. So
maybe that's the problem. Maybe you got to nominate him. That's
I know exactly.
No, it has.
So
put that in your notebook.
Someone's got to put his name forward or something.
Yeah.
By the way, there's this bloke in Melbourne who knows what he's doing. So I don't know the reason, but that error should be rectified.
Maybe it's because he's a Hawthorn supporter. Incidentally, the other two legendary friends of the blokes are also well known to you, a chap called Ian Cover and a chap called Russell Morris, both of whom, or all three of whom, have been extraordinary supporters for a couple of hacks down here in Geelong who give it a crack on a Saturday morning. So you've been in radio for, I'm slipping my shoes and socks off here, over 20 years. Let's run with that so I don't look like a complete idiot with the mathematics.
That's right. Yeah.
So have you ever yearned to be on the other side of the glass and actually doing the program rather than producing it?
Not really, no. It's not where my talent lies, as you can probably tell by this conversation. But,
they're comparing you with me, so you're looking good at the minute.
But no, I've always been really focused on doing the production side of it. As you'll know, Neil, you do listen to the show and you do hear that I pop up from time to time, but it's not my strong suit and it's not something that I really want to do. So a lot of the producers around 3AW have made that transition to on air. A couple of my colleagues, even Jimmy Sabo, young Jimmy Sabo, he's in his early 30s, he actually hosted the afternoon show over summer. And a lot of the producers do want to take that step and present a show, but it's not what I've been passionate about. So I just love being creative behind the scenes. I'm really into news, so I love getting interviews and a bit of a news junkie. But I also like taking a bit of a sideways look at the news, doing some writing, doing some, I guess, sort of more humorous takes on the stories of the day and giving that to Ross and then, making I guess just bringing the whole team together and making it a team effort rather than focus on me getting on air really. So I haven't really been interested in that.
So run us through a typical Scorcher day. You wake up at 2:15 and you're in the office by 3:30. So we might skip that bit because there's probably bits in there we don't really need to hear too much detail about. So you walk in the door at 3:30 and you're on the air at 5:30. How do you fill in those couple of hours?
Yeah, so a couple of coffees. I'm
surprised that's not in the 2:15 to 3:30 bit.
Yeah, no. So I smash a couple of coffees at home. So rock up at 3:30. I'll go through all the papers. So I summarise all the papers. I read all the papers, which stories I think that we should cover that morning. So I'll start compiling some contacts, people to call, start preparing myself to wake people up and getting people out of bed and on the radio.
Yeah, thanks. I've done that a couple of times.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So I'll just sort of prepare everything from a news point of view before the show, between about 3:30 and 4:30. The team rocks in from 4:30 onwards. Ross gets in at about 5, and then we just start talking nonsense, to be honest. So, we sort of, we're all focusing on putting together our story list. So the stories that we think that we should cover today, everyone does that individually. But then from about 5:15, we all start chatting and coming up with some ridiculous, silly ideas, and just and that will often, I guess, show. So some of what you hear Ross talk about at 5:30 is what we've been discussing at 5:15, which just comes naturally out of us just talking rubbish at the start of the show, and somehow it makes it to air.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of preparation, reading 4 newspapers every day, and also checking websites like the BBC and trying to find some audio as well, because our program's very audio focused as well. So Damien Tardia, who's a genius on the panels, if we find anything humorous from overnight, we'll send it his way and make sure that gets into the show as well. So yeah, it's just preparing, summarising all the news, and then getting ready to start the show.
So if I can summarise your day for you based on all of that, you wake up at 2:15. You read the paper, and then you sit and watch people do radio for 3 hours, and then you go home after 5 hours. It's not a bad job.
You know what? Spot on. It's not a bad gig, is it? It's not a bad gig at all.
If your coffee tastes a bit funny at some stage, I'll be responsible for that. You'll be out the door, I'm in.
Yeah. As I said before, it's such an honour and a privilege to do this job. And, I've been doing it for 10 years, and, getting up at 2:15 for 10 years, it does take its toll, on your body. And I'm not getting any younger, Neil, that's for sure. And, it's the tiredness, the payoff is worth it, honestly. It's such a good job. And I can't imagine going back to 9 to 5. Like, I really couldn't. So, the thought of working in another, comms role, or doing another radio gig, like someone said, recently, it's like, what other jobs do you want to work in radio? I'm like, well, I'm doing the best job now.
Yeah.
It's like going from playing AFL to I guess some suburban side in Dandenong. Like, you wouldn't do that. So
and good morning to everyone listening in Dandenong.
Sorry.
Sorry. Good morning to everyone who was listening in Dandenong.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So I'm sure you can't quote the exact number, but roughly how many contacts have you got in your phone?
Oh, that's a good question. I can actually look at it.
Oh, here you go. Live radio, folks. Well, not live, but you know what I mean.
Over 3,000 at the moment, but we do have a sort of an internal contact system here. So, yeah, I have a lot. I have a very big little black book.
Yes.
Lots of people. So it's been 20 years of getting people's numbers. So, yeah, it's honestly, that's the thing. You've got to have in live radio plan A, B, C, and D, because you go for plan A, but, people aren't awake at 6 or 7 in the morning. And, you've got to pivot. So you've got to have options. It's the biggest thing in radio, especially talk radio when it's live. Yeah, often your plan A doesn't come together. So you've got to always have a backup and be thinking about where to take a story. For example, we had a story on the River File today. A bloke, we were sent vision of it. He fell through the roof of a pub. So I think he'd had a few sherbets and then climbed on the roof and allegedly,
yeah.
And then actually fell through the internal roof onto a table. It looked very painful. He sort of smashed his neck. And, it was horrendous footage, but, it's obviously quite humorous as well. But, we just wanted to go to the publican and have a chat. We had his number, but he didn't answer the whole morning. So it kind of sometimes your best laid plans don't come off, unfortunately.
Now, while we've been talking too, by the way, Artificial has texted me and said he's working on a song called I Sold Chocks for Darren Hinch. If he gets that to us before, if I get that back from Artie before the end of this conversation, I'll play it for you. Otherwise, I'll send it through to you.
Very good.
So with the team, you've got people running around answering phones. How many people I was going to say how many people work, clearly half of them, but how many people are working on the program at any given time while it's on the air?
So there's a team of 3 of us. So myself, there's Maya Van Ness and Sophie Clemens. That's the production team. Mm-hmm. So the EP, my position, you're sort of steering the ship, deciding where to take the show, deciding what news stories to cover. Sophie Beaver's away in the other studio, ringing people up, getting people out of bed and getting people on the radio. And Maya's our frontline worker. So she's dealing with all the calls, all the rumours. So the Rumour File is the most listened to radio segment in Australia, 7 o'clock every morning. It's a bit of a mad dash to put together. We get a lot of calls that we have to obviously be very careful with. We don't want to be sued into oblivion by some of the stuff that we get told.
I can imagine.
So we have to sort of massage that a little bit every morning, and it's quite stressful because it all happens within 10 minutes, and you're dealing with some highly sensitive content sometimes that you've got to work your way through, and so Maya's really on the front line there, dealing with all that, and I guess getting all the calls in order and taking all the lines. So we have 10 lines that come in, and they all pretty much come in at once at 7 o'clock. So it's a bit of it's a stressful job, but it's a great segment. Ross came up with this idea years and years ago, and it's been copied on other stations in our network, and I think it's one of the most successful segments ever produced on Australian radio.
I think I'm right in saying that when he first came up with the idea, management said it would never work.
I think that's right. I think that's right, yes.
It's like the Two Blokes Chatting radio show that was on between 9 and 11 earlier today. We were put together for 3 or 4 weeks just so while we got through COVID. And I think today was number 282. So, yeah, sometimes those predictions don't work well. Of course, it's the man from, I think it was Decca Records in 61 or 62 who said to the Beatles, guitar music's on its way out.
Exactly, yeah, never work. Yeah.
Wonder how he's going in his career these days, that bloke.
I know, can you imagine? And then did they sign up the Stones straight away as soon as they came along? Is that right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. I think someone might have got a boot in the backside for that one.
I know.
Now, outside of radio, there is, because clearly, you don't do very much, you only work 5 hours a day, you've got a couple of other really significant interests. One of travel. What?
My parents, when I was 16, we had a family holiday to Turkey, and I said I didn't want to go because I'm just like, why would you want to go overseas? I just want to see Australia. I want to travel around Australia. So I stayed home with my grandma, and my sister and family went overseas to Turkey. And I don't know what I was thinking, because 2 years later, when I hit 18, I just got the travel bug and just went anywhere I could. So Southeast Asia was really where it kicked off for me. So my mum lived in Thailand when she was 16 in sort of rural Thailand as an exchange student. And I remember I went over to Thailand. I met her family that she stayed with, and I just absolutely loved Thailand. It was fantastic. Obviously did the islands and all that kind of stuff. And then whenever I could, I would take time off work and go and travel. So did all of Southeast Asia. When I moved to London, I travelled as much as I could in Europe and just absolutely got the travel bug, and still got it now. So I absolutely love travel. I remember one day, Ross and I used to do a show called A Movable Feast, which was about travel and food, and I produced the show. And we spoke with a guy who cycled from Dublin to Melbourne. And Ross asked him if there's any country that he wouldn't go back to. And he said, yes, Turkmenistan. It was horrible, he said. It's one of the worst countries on earth. And I said, well, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there and check it out. And I did. And it was a very bizarre country. I guess the leader, it's sort of like a, what is it, the cult of personality on steroids.
Okay.
He's just the most bizarre leader you've ever come across. All their buildings are, so I think the Department of Gas or whatever is built like a giant cigarette lighter. They've got statues of him everywhere that revolve, and one of the statues revolves so it always faces the sun. It's quite bizarre. All the buildings in the capital city are marble. It's just the most astonishing place, and no one goes there. It's like this little hermit country in Central Asia, Turkmenistan, and it's fascinated me, but it doesn't really attract the tourist numbers, to be honest.
How do you approach Turkmenistan? Where do you go to get into it?
So you have to go with a guide. So you can't go independently. I went with Intrepid Travel, and I went with to his Uzbekistan as well at the same time, and that was great. Uzbekistan's a really good country. People are looking for something off the beaten path. It's a really beautiful place for those countries, and it was a good little trip. There was a group of, I think, about 8 to 10 of us, and we just, went around this bizarre little country. And I'm really into photography as well, and you can't take photos there. Actually, you have to be with a government guide the whole time. And
wow.
I remember this one time I actually snuck off by myself. I think everyone was having downtime in the hotel. I just left and went to the local market and wandered around and started taking photos, which is a probably ridiculously stupid thing to do, Neil. But
how long were you in jail for after that?
Arrested. But no, it was fine. I came out unscathed, and I did have a good time. But it was a bizarre place to go.
It sounds like it. Now, you mentioned photography. That's the other one. You are something of a photographer, I am told. I haven't seen any of your work, but I'm told you're a good photographer.
Yeah, something I do in my spare time. So I do a lot of street photography, which is candid photography on the street. Just I So as I've been talking about, I get up at 2, home by about 12-ish. I have a bit of a snooze, and then I'll get up in the afternoon and go do some photography. So it's just a real sort of break for me. Live radio is really intense for those 3 hours. You're absolutely flat out. You don't have time to think. It's quite stressful. Like, we don't really get that stress on the show because we've sort of been doing it a while, but it is a high pressure, intense environment. So to have the photography side of it, it's just a chance to sort of, relax and just forget about everything else going on in the world at the moment, because the news is pretty, it's been pretty serious the last couple of years, world events at the moment. So it's just a chance for me to sort of depressurize and think about nothing else but going out and taking photos. And I really like it. I shoot on film, which is horrendously expensive. I don't know why I do that. But
yeah, I don't know whether you heard, they have digital cameras now. You can look at them on your screen.
I know. Yeah, I do have digital cameras, but I just love the way film looks, black and white film, and I don't think the digital sensors replicate that. It's just this beautiful, the way that film renders an image. I'm doing that. I've got to win a few competitions, and exhibit around the world. So it's a really good, counterbalance to radio. So yeah, I love doing that, and I do that most days. And I'm in a photography collective, which I love, just chatting photos with like-minded people. So yeah, and that's something I really enjoy. And it started about 5 years ago after a trip to the Philippines. I was on a bit of a work trip, actually, because we do get a few quirks of the job, Neil, luckily, on this radio station. So when launched going to the Philippines, and I was lucky enough to go on the inaugural flight, went to the Philippines, and I guess really got on with this other photographer there. And I always had a bit of an interest in photography, and he was just so passionate about it. And when I came back to Melbourne, I'm like, I'm just going to give this a go. And haven't looked back since.
Yeah, well, see, this is where you and I are very different. I mean, you got to go to the Philippines on the inaugural flight. Rob and I got out to Skipton last week to do an outside broadcast at the Bowls Club. So, I think we've got you covered in that respect. Yeah.
Well, exactly right. And we're lucky enough to go to Japan last year, which is also, it's it's not Skipton though. Skipton's got its highlights as well. So don't.
At the moment, most of them have been burnt down, which is sad. But that's another story for another time. When you and I catch up for a cool drink one warm afternoon, I'll tell you about my trip to Japan. It's probably not ideal for this format. Mark, before I let you go, 3 questions, all vaguely related. You'll pick up a theme, I reckon.
Yes.
One country or city you haven't been to that you want to?
Very good question. So many.
I told you the hard-hitting journalism was coming.
Gee whiz, just one. Only one.
Yep. Well, you can do 2.
I'm going to say, all right, can I say Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia?
Okay. Of all the things you've photographed, is there somewhere that you would really love to photograph you haven't had a chance to yet?
I haven't been.
You brought in a second place and say, hey, would you like to talk on breakfast radio? Who's the one that you haven't yet picked up the phone and rung yet that you'd like to? Do you see the theme coming through there?
Yeah. I do see the theme.
Yeah.
You know what?
Strong work.
This is going to sound a bit weird, but I reckon George Bush.
You have to be more specific.
George Bush, I just think that he's obviously, when he was president of the United States.
This is the younger of the two.
The young, junior, yes.
Hence more specific.
He obviously back in the days when he was president, he was seen as a bit of a divisive president. Obviously, there was war in Iraq and everything like that. But I don't know, he just seems to have sort of mellowed a little bit, since he's left office. And I think he'd be fun to have a beer with. I don't know. I just think he'd be a good chat just about the state of the world at the moment. So maybe, throw in George Bush Jr. there. All
right, sounds like a plan. Mark Davidson, executive producer of 3AW Breakfast. I know that you'd rather be doing something else than sitting and talking to someone on the radio, but thank you for taking some time out. Because you don't get the chance to do this very often, I invited Ross to do this once before as well. Because you're not on an FM station playing groovy music, you know what song we're going to play on the way out. Here is your chance to introduce the great man, Bruce Springsteen. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us on Chewing the Fat.
Neil, thank you so much. And to take it away, here is Bruce Springsteen with Radio Nowhere.